Welcome to the show, Marty Prior. You are an award-winning bassist, songwriter and producer, best known for your work with Steve Harley and Cockney Rebel, contributing to their albums, TV appearances and live touring. You have worked with and collaborated with notable musicians Gregg Wright, Webb and Max Middleton, to name a few. There's a ton of stuff to talk about with you, Marty. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, and please do tell us more.
Really warm blessings to you both and everyone else that watches the show. I'm a musician of 4 or 5 generations of musicians, actually. I come from a fifth generation military family. So music has always been in my family. When I was very, very small, probably 2.5, 3 years old, up until now, on my 50th year on planet Earth.
So I'm going to ask you this question. I already know the answer, but everybody has a different answer. How much do you love music?
Music is my life. The love for it never ceases for the flame to flicker out. We musicians are very, very privileged to have very close to us. Mm-hmm. And the more that I try to learn about music, the more that I don't know. But I also know that we have a tremendous responsibility as musicians, to spread the love and around planet Earth, you know.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I mean, so you're a creator as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I write. I went through classical training as a kid in piano, and then went on to drums and tune percussion. I come from a single family, but my mother brought me up, so I had quite an interesting childhood. But music was always something that I was interested in, to always come back to, and always spent many hours listening to records, and go like we all do. You know, if you get into it, you get into it very deeply, and it becomes a wondrous drug that it never leaves you. You know.
Yeah, I used to love going to the record store.
Yeah, absolutely.
My mom said, "Let's go." We had one of them old phonographs, man. With the speakers, and she said, "Let's go get some music." Right? I love it because you could go in, you can ask the retailer guy or whatever it is. You say, "Listen, I want this. There's this record," and you could sing just a little bit of it, Marty, and he knew where it was in the store.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, I could smell before you get into the record store, depending on which one you went to. You could actually taste the record, Do you know what I mean? We had a very interesting selection of different record stores. I mean, I used to go down to town, which I call London.
Yeah.
And, hit Tower Records, or go to one of the obscure record company shops in Camden, and just hit the smell of the shop before you went in there. Yeah. Before you listening to something,
Yeah, and see, because I'm an old dude, man. But I remember you go in, man. Like I said, I love it. You go in and sing. Oh yeah, that's over here, right? Yeah. But they know that you're going to go look at some other music while you're in there, right?
Absolutely. I used to feel kind of like, man, I'm going to go down and check out the fusion stuff, and I mean, I'd spend probably half of my day listening to Miles Davis, Billy Cobham, or whatever, and just get into the booth, put the vinyl on, put the headphones on, just lose myself for many hours.
Yeah, man. It's such an amazing therapy, music. Tom and I had a dear friend of mine on. She's a school teacher in the daytime, right? But she had her own radio show, and we had a show together. But she told Tom and I, she's, man, I'm in there with them kids all day, and they screaming and hollering and all that. I can't wait to get home just to put on some music.
Absolutely.
She's like, I put on a song and it takes me away from all the stuff that I went through today. That's the great thing about records and stuff like that. And plus, I used to love it, dude. You open a record up and you can read about, hey, look at this bass player here, or look at it, oh, that's the drummer. Oh, I seen him on somebody else's record, and it goes like that. And I love those people that read the records, read the credits on the records, because you find out there's a lot of people involved, not just that star. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, I remember as a 6 or 7 year old kid getting Thriller and getting it home to my nan's house and going into the special room, which was the room with a Farfisa organ, and it was a nice room that everyone stayed away from. You know, you could only go in there in special circumstances, and it was just a nice room. It was kept out of the way from everything else. But in that room, there was a record player, and I put Thriller on that very day that I put Thriller on. It scared me completely listening to that record as a child. I don't think it's ever left me. The energy, the musicianship, the songwriting, the vibe, the meter, the vocals, the production. It's not something that I take very lightly, and I try and difficult these days with so much media hitting our our oral and our visual perception, but it's a very important thing to be able to listen and really just take in what these guys were doing, you know, whatever time period.
Mm-hmm.
Just on that, really, Marty, you are, let's say, a pretty sought after collaborator in the UK scene. Can you give us, if at all possible, any kind of standout moments that you've had in your career, or people that you've worked with that you've thought bit of a pinch me moment? That's a
really good question, Tom. We always have these happy accidents. I mean, as a 16-year-old teenager, I was picked up. My first professional gig was going out with a Trinidad Tobago steel band. You know, the Pans, and it was run by an elder called Willie. You know, he was the leader of that band. And I used to get picked up and basically disappear into the night and be looked after, and I'd be the only guy there, predominantly that was young. But they treated me the same. They treated me with respect, and I learned so much. Yeah, the places that we went to, you know, the people that we were playing to, the vibe, it was totally different. It was alien to me.
Do you write reggae?
Do you know I do? I've written some songs recently which I haven't released yet. Which again, us musicians were forever perfectionists, hey? Yeah. A lot of it's to do with what's going on with the world at the moment, and trying to convey a message within a song, within a melody. Yeah. That was a great experience, and I've got so many stories, Skyler, Tom, I'm sure you have as well. I mean, I used to play with a guy called Gregg Webb. Reg was a fantastic keyboard player from the UK. He was blind. Wow. You know, he did his thesis. He was dropped in Brooklyn when he was 17 years old as a predominantly English guy. Reg was pivotal in many careers for people. He picked up Nick Kershaw as a teenager and put him under his wing. And Reg was a guy that, you know, he gigged and toured with Lenny Kravitz as his clav and his main, you know, Hammond player for 2 years world tour. But Reg to me was a guy that didn't really have a set list. He had a load of songs, and we would disappear into London to 606 or Ronnie Scott's or whatever the club was. Yeah. And me as a bass player would be like, okay, Reg, what we doing? And he'd be like, well, okay, what do you want to do? Steely Dan, you know, what do you want to do? Cherokee? Do you want to do the Yellow Jackets? Do you want to do John Mayer? There were so many different vibes. Yeah. That put me on my toes as a musician. And it also opened me up to the world of someone with a very special gift of developing the visuals that he couldn't see in the world, but he opened up this giant ears, like a radar that never turned off, like a radio. And he was basically a chord junkie, but what an awesome musician. You know? Yeah. Wow. So that's another massive someone that I would say that has a marking effect on me as a person and as a musician. Yeah. You know.
So you write conscious lyrical content, right?
I'm lucky to have a fiance, Angelina. Angelina's really good at lyrics. Yeah. My viewpoint is that if it doesn't put the hairs on the back of my neck up, then I'm either going down the wrong road or I haven't developed it enough yet. Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that we all get about going to record shops and looking at the detail, if we opened up the record and looked at the inside trouser legs measurements of these guys and who the photographer was and who was the guy on drums on that track. Yeah. It's the detail seems to be lost in transit. We've got all this a massive media. Yeah. And our imaginations get lost. Yeah. Also in transit, you know. Yeah. So trying to simplify, I was lucky enough to be at the 30th anniversary of the Two Tone Festival in Coventry in a reggae band playing with some of the reggae greats that come up through the UK scene. By living and working and breathing and doing professional gigs with reggae artists. I was in a Bolivian, Cuban, Latino band in London at night, El Barco Latino, which was a Colombian yacht and barge right near the Temple Bar. And I was a double bass player, timbales, electric bass, predominantly listening there with 14 other guys from Cuba, Bolivia, Uruguay, Argentina, etc. And learning clave, learning the dance, learning the interaction, the seamlessness of it. So you're forever learning as a human, but you also, as a musician, you're forever learning and improving and communicating. And my hope is to collaborate with people that are equally minded.
Yeah. I love that you fell in love with a song I wrote with Robert Dampert and Kenny G.
You have an awesome talent with your writing.
Thank you,
Skyler.
I want to do some reggae with you.
Okay.
Marty, I've been writing a lot of that lately, I love it because it's basically world music. That's the kind of festivals I want to do.
But brother, that's my job as a musician. Firstly, was a professional drummer. I trained for several years under a guy in Essex. Then I started getting into getting master classes with Vinnie Cugliata or Steve Smith or David Weckl or Denny Chambers. Basically, whoever was in town, I'd try and hitch an hour to get a lesson from these guys. But for me, my interest is the groove. My interest as a bass player is to make people move or to move people.
That's what the bass and drum does, man. It takes you there. The emotion.
Yeah.
Wonderful, Tom.
Well, what I love, you briefly sort of touched on it there, Marty, is the fact all the different types of playing that you've done and the people that you've worked with. Such a varied, different type of music. You've got all kinds of different areas that you've touched on. You've done jazz and you've done the kind of music you mentioned earlier. Was there a particular kind of want for you to actually experience all these different things, or it just happened that way that you've been able to be a part of all these different types of music?
It's a really cool question. I got my driving license early when I was 17. I got my motorbike license, then I got my car license. And as soon as I got wheels, I was out. I was going to London. I was going to Brighton, Southend, anywhere in the UK to go and see bands, music, and to fill my brain with input. Yeah. So, I think that when you've had, thousands of gigs experience and you've gone to see concerts of all different types of people, you start to have the ability to be able to kind of like compile that information in one's brain. Mm-hmm. And then you can have choices of how you write, Yeah. I was the bass player I was a Cockney Rebel member since 2014 to late 2016. So I did the Best Years of Our Lives album, which was done in 74, the year I was born. That was recorded in Abbey Road with Steve and the guys. And that was a very special album, Best Years of Our Life, because those guys hadn't played with each other for 31 years. And they decided that they wanted to reunion themselves after 31 years of not playing together, and that was the Best Years of Our Lives tour in 2015. When we're talking about music, Come Up and See Me, Make Me Smile is on that album, but basically as a bass player, as an MD or double bass player, you kind of learn your parts, but you're not just learning that, you're learning the guitar parts, where the vocal comes in, where the bass drum comes in, how it feels, I think they were on some very crazy shit in 74 when they went into Abbey Road, but the talent and the lyrical talent from Steve is probably the reason why they come out with that product. And he's a great lyricist and he's a great songwriter.
Yeah.
Who's some of your favorite social conscious music writers?
One of them's just gone, Quincy.
Yeah.
When I started getting into the architecture of a producer's job, and then you start listening to the sound of the genius of someone like that. Mm-hmm. Marvin Gaye, definitely.
Yeah, man. There's so many. So that's what I'm saying. There's never been a genre for it. People would write social conscious songs because it was feeling like I want to say something about the world or how we could change it or heal or whatever. But there's never been a genre, a platform, a radio stations, TV, and that's what we're creating. for the genre, because there's already been 192 million published social conscious song. So
Okay.
it's going to be easy because it's already there,
Mm.
But listen, brother, thank you for the privilege of your time to come on our show today. I appreciate
Marty.
you for doing that.
Thanks for
And
joining us.
Tom's going to get information from you so we can spread the love.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure, Skyler. Thank you, brother, and thank you, brother Tom, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great to have you on the show, Marty. Just want to know, just for our listeners, really, what sort of, if you've got any kind of social media out there that you can be contacted on, or any kind of website at all where people can see what you're up to, what bands you're in, what kind of things you're up to.
I've been concentrating on a project called The Space Between Two Notes, which is a project that I'm looking into at the moment. But I'm kind of writing for film, so I've got several films happening at the moment as composer and MD. I'm kind of also freelance. I work in the film and the pop industry. So my B15, which is over there, is 20 minutes from being warmed up.
Yeah.
And then I'm into work, And the great thing about the internet, as we all know, is that I could be in New York, which I've done recently.
Yeah.
Africa, which I've done recently for a German producer in Cologne. And it's really cool. It's, in some respects, it's not, because you're not with that person in the studio. That's the ideal. But it enables us to be accessible to things that we not necessarily could be. So my LinkedIn is my biggest social network. I've got about 15, maybe 16,000 very connected professional people.
Okay.
Skyler's with that. Facebook is about, 4.65 to 5K. I'm not really a musician every day sitting there playing my bass to get followers. That's their gig. My gig is to put it down on record.
Cool. That's fine. Well, what we'll do, Marty, is we'll put those links to those LinkedIn's and Facebook link on the video here, just in the description. So if anyone wants to check that out, they can do.
Thanks, Tom. Have a good evening, guys.
You too.
Peace and love to you.
Music can save the world. If we all get together, music can save the world. Yeah. Music can save the world. Music can save the world. If we all come together, music can save the world. There's an urgency facing our humanity.
Thank you so much for watching. To stay up to date, please click subscribe and hit the bell. You can also join our group on Facebook and find us on LinkedIn and Instagram.